Well, happy September. September is a month that we designate as a month to remember how much we love this church, the people of God. And this week, I have a special treat for you because I know how hungry you are to see each other's faces. And so we have a very special face to talk to today. Lee Galloway is here with me today, and I'm going to ask him a few questions. The first question is, Lee, what have you been up to the last 6 months?
Well, Holly, thanks for inviting me to participate in the service today. The past 6 months, it's certainly been different. Last year, Nancy and I, thinking about how we could spend more time in the West Coast, in Oregon and Washington, so that we could see our family that lives there, we applied to volunteer at a lighthouse and museum in the coast of Oregon, Umpqua Lighthouse. And so we were supposed to work there during April and May, volunteering and giving tours of the lighthouse and the museum. We were in California on our way there in March when we got word that they had shut down because of the COVID virus. But they asked us to come anyway, and so we went, and we can't complain. We had a RV spot that was up on a bluff about 100 feet above the Pacific Ocean, and the front of our RV was faced out at the ocean, so we could look out each morning and see whales and see boats coming in and out of the harbor, seeing birds. It was a great experience. But instead of giving tours, we ended up doing a lot of manual labor there at the lighthouse. I worked on picnic tables, rebuilding them, painting rooms in the shed or in the museum. Nancy worked on landscaping, and it was quite different. Coming back, we were there until the 1st of June, and then we drove about 12 days, 15 days coming back across country. We got to go to some national parks, saw a lot of wildlife, saw a lot of historic sites. It was interesting. One Sunday it was 30 degrees in Yellowstone, it was snowing, and the next Sunday it was 104 degrees in the Badlands of South Dakota, and it was really, really hot and dry. But we got back home, and after we were back home at the end of June, since then we've done a lot of yard work, a lot of catching up around the house. We both do a lot of reading. We haven't been able to get out much. We limited our trips. We go to a grocery store occasionally. Restaurants are, we get carry out and bring them home and eat them. So it's certainly been different. It's been very different. But we've enjoyed the time being at home, and afternoons we'll go swimming. We enjoy that and enjoy the good weather when we have it.
Well, Lee, your life sounds just about as exciting as our life these days. We've also been getting a lot of yard work and reading done. So what have you missed most about the church gathered?
I suppose I'd get extra points if I said I miss seeing the sermons in person. And that would be true as well, but I just have really, really missed the people. It's been so hard not seeing the people, and especially this year when the virus has affected so many people, and we've had such losses in the church. That's really been hard to see Miss Abel go and see BJ go and Margot Harp, and us not be able to come together as a church to share in our grief. But seeing the people each Sunday means so much. I mean, we may not see each other the rest of the week, but seeing them has something that we've really, really missed. I've missed the men's breakfast. I've missed working dinners at Pathways. I've missed participating in the service. But just the people, miss the people.
Lee, something that you mentioned to me earlier is about missing the people is that you're a hugger, and we share that trait in common, and it's been so painful. It's not likely that we'll be able to hug anytime soon, so we can commiserate together there. So you've been a part of this wonderful church family for quite a while. Tell us about some of the ways you've been involved in the church.
Yeah, I was a member of the church in the 90s, and in the late, we came here in 94, and in the late 90s, I relocated my membership to another church. There was a lot of turmoil going on at that time, and I relocated my membership. We came back here. Nancy realized that I really wanted to go back to my Presbyterian roots. I was born, first 50 years of my life I spent as a Presbyterian. I was drawn back to that. When we came back here at the end of 2012 and got very active in the church quickly, at the end of 13, John Lindsay asked me to be involved in the committee that would help on the restoration of this sanctuary. And with a very good, strong committee, some other great members, we carried that project through. Took a little bit more than a year, but there was a lot of good work done. Soon after that, I became a member of the session, and John Lindsay decided that he was going to retire. My job on the session was in personnel, but outside of that, he asked me if I would be involved with the search committee, the pastoral search committee, and I became involved with that, again, with a great committee, 4 other folks from here in the congregation. But I, joined with that committee, and we began our search. We had 113 applicants, if you'll call them applicants, and we reviewed each resume. And fortunately, we called you to this church. And by the way, I believe 2 weeks from now is your anniversary, 5th year anniversary. That's hard to imagine, but 5 years here. But God was sure a blessing to us when he brought you to us. Other things I've been involved with, as a personnel committee, I was involved in helping in the search for musical personnel with Diane and Joel when they were bought here. I guess it's been 3 years ago now. And at the beginning in my term on session as the personnel chair, I was involved with interviewing Christy, and Christy was hired at that time. And at the end of my term on session, Scott was hired as our sexton. So I've had a hand in a lot of the personnel decisions, along with, again, a lot of other good committee members and good people. I've been on the Buildings and Grounds Committee almost since I returned to the church in 13. I have been involved with the men's breakfast. 2 years ago, I participated in the Grow Forward Committee, and we did a lot of the preliminary work on planning and asking questions and trying to discern what type of additions were needed to make our church more accessible to an aging population, if you will. Trying to make it more accessible, having an elevator, having better parking on this side of the street. And that's soon to be a project that another building committee will be carrying out a lot of the things that we had recommended. It's been I've just been involved in a lot of things. I participated in worship service some. A couple of times I even gave the message. And I try to give a few corny jokes here and there during the announcements, because I love to see people laugh, and I love to see people be filled with joy when they're here in this house.
So Lee, what have you learned when it comes to giving of yourself, your time, your treasures, and your talents?
For most of my life, I've taken the approach that if you're going to do something, you need to do it well. You need to give 100%. I've tried to give 100% to my involvement here at the church. just as I did in my career. There's a catch to that, though, or there's a burden to that, though, in that I found that the more you give in terms of your time, your resources, your talents, the more you want to give. That you buy into something, you become involved in something, you become more committed to it. And I found that the more I gave or give, the more I want to give back to the church. And, that's a way of giving back to God in terms of, He's given so much to me, and that in turn is given back to Him by trying to further the purpose of the church and what we're all about. And I feel like that's a calling, if you will, to give to the church and to serve the church.